Hello, hello, DM Geezer Jim here, back again. We're going to talk about the Shadowfell this time. We were reading the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, audiobook mode with some commentary at the end of the video. So we're going to get into the reading first, and as usual, I'll offer a little bit of commentary and some extra resources to flesh out these planes in the second part of the video. Thank you for joining me. Let's get into it. Chapter 6, Touring the Multiverse. Next up is the Shadowfell. The Shadowfell, also called the Plane of Shadow, is a gloomy dimension whose sky is a black vault with neither sun nor stars. The Shadowfell overlaps the material plane in much the same way as the Feywild. Aside from the bleak landscape, it appears similar to the material plane. Travelers from the material plane who enter the Shadowfell often observe landmarks similar to the world they left, but distorted and often sinister. A mountain on the material plane might be replaced in the Shadowfell by a skull-shaped rock outcropping, a heap of rubble, or the crumbling ruin of a once great castle. The forests of the Shadowfell hold sinister-looking trees, their branches reaching out to snare travelers' cloaks and the roots coiling to trip those who pass by. Shadow dragons and undead haunt this bleak plain, as do other creatures that thrive in the gloom, including cloakers and dark mantles. Shadow crossings is the next section. Shadow crossings are locations where the veil between the material plane and the Shadowfell is so thin that creatures can pass from one plane to the other. A blot of shadow in the corner of a dusty crypt might be a shadow crossing, as might be an open grave. Shadow crossings form in gloomy places where spirits or the stench of death lingers, such as battlefields, graveyards, and tombs. They manifest only in darkness, closing as soon as they feel light's kiss. Domains of dread, something that are connected to them. In a far-flung corner of the Shadowfell drifts a hidden expanse of roiling mist and vague semi-reality. At this eerie edge of the multiverse, the mysterious entities known as the Dark Powers collect the most wicked beings from across ages and worlds within inescapable, mist-shrouded demiplanes. In these shadowy prisons, the villainous beings become Dark Lords, able to exercise great power but confined to the realms that twist their desires, capturing them in cycles of dread and despair. Mists surround each of the domains of dread, making it difficult to leave one domain and even harder to find a path to another. The mists rise and fall at the whim of the Dark Powers, and they can even slip across planes to drag people unwittingly into the dread domains. Those who live in these domains ascribe all sorts of sinister stories to the mists. Any supernatural happening, inexplicable disappearances, or malicious forces can be blamed on the mists. The following domains of dread are the most infamous. They're described in more detail in Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, a 5th edition publication that we will take a look at. Barovia. The towering spires of Castle Ravenloft loom above the Valley of Barovia, which is ruled by Strahd von Zarovich, the first vampire. Borka. Amid opulent estates and impoverished villages, two Dark Lords, the vicious poisoner Ivana Boristi and the childishly cruel stalker Ivan Desilnia, pursue their obsessive schemes. Falkovnia. They gave us a few of these. Cool. Falkovnia. Empty countryside surrounds ruined or crumbling cities with only a few pockets of civilization fighting a losing battle against an endless plague of zombies. General Vladeska Drakov commands a fierce military force that desperately clings to power. Kalakari, a beautiful land of rainforest, rivers, and lakes, is a quagmire of intrigue and despair as three royal heirs, transformed into monsters by their depravity and hatred, battle endlessly to claim the thrones of their ancient dynasty. Lamordia. Inventors and scholars violate both natural and moral laws amid the frozen bogs and glacial expanses of Lamordia. The worst of them is the domain's Dark Lord, Dr. Victra Mordenheim, whose efforts to create life and abolish death have led to creations of many monsters. Mordant. Death in Mordant heralds the beginning of a haunted afterlife as a restless spirit, for this domain is the realm of ghost stories and hauntings. The dead here earn no rest, no finality, and no peace, just a passage into a shadowy world of wispy phantoms, mournful groaning, and clanking chains. Valakin. The devious hunter Chajuna roams the jungles of her domain, hunting the most dangerous beasts she can find. When she grows dissatisfied with simpler prey, she draws people into a fatal contest, ensuring that the land remains seeped in blood. The next section is talking about the Shadowfell despair. A melancholic atmosphere pervades the Shadowfell, and extended four-ways to this plane can afflict characters with despair. When you deem it appropriate, though usually not more than once per day, you can require a character not from the Shadowfell to make a DC 10 Wisdom savings throw. On a failed save, the character is affected by despair. Roll on the Shadowfell despair table below to determine the effects. You can substitute different despair effects of your own creation. 3 simple examples rolled on a D6 table. If they fail to save on a 1 through 3, they end up with apathy. The character has disadvantage on death saving throws and initiative rolls. The next one is dread. The character has disadvantage on all saving throws on 4 to 5. A roll of 6 will give delusion. The characters have disadvantages on ability checks and saving throws that use intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. If a character is already suffering a despair effect and fails a saving throw, the new despair effect replaces the old one. After finishing a long rest, a character can attempt to overcome the despair with a DC 15 wisdom saving throw. The DC is higher because it's harder to shake off the despair once it's taken hold. On a successful save, the despair effect ends for that character. A calm emotion spell or magic that removes curses can cure the despair. And that's it. That's this Shadowfell. If you're here for the RTFM portion, thank you so much for hanging out. That's all that the 5e is going to give us on Shadowfell. If you're here for comments, hang out. We're about to get into some more stuff. First thing I'm going to present is going to be the 4th edition Manual of the Planes. Okay, and this will probably be, and we'll look at the Van Richtings as well. Okay. Why 4th edition? Because the Shadowfell was briefly mentioned as the Plane of Shadow in the 2nd edition Planescape, but not a whole lot was ascribed to it other than the Domains of Dread, like it was the 3rd edition. The 4th edition replaced a lot of our extra planar escapades with Shadowfell and Feywild as the parallel dimensions. So 4th edition was the first edition that really got into a lot of depth in regards to the Feywild and the Shadowfell. So I always recommend to people that are interested in the Shadowfell and want to do a little bit more with it to pick up this book. 4th edition Manual of the Planes gets into a lot of good detail, gives you information about some non-player characters, cults, lunatics, death giants, Shattered Kai, the Dread Emperors, and gives you some locations as well. Some things that you can actually use to plan your adventures around when you go to the Shadow Dark. Always remember, though, the Shadowfell. It is a parallel of our multiverse. It is a parallel of the material plane that you are using for your campaigns. If you're using the Forgotten Realms, you don't necessarily have to go to a whole ways. You just, when the players go to the Shadowfell, they're in a creepy version of the Forgotten Realms. They're in a creepy version of Waterdeep. Maybe Waterdeep is not there. Instead, it's this cluster of ruins leading to a grand castle on the hill ran by some dark entity or another. When playing with the Shadowfell, likewise with the Feywild, you get to exercise your creativity based on what is already part of your world. So even though we're saying, oh, there's other books for it, and likewise, in addition to the 4th edition Manual of the Planes, you can rely on, if you're a fan of the Domains of Dread, I scrolled way too far, sorry. You can look at Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which also offers a ton of information about Domains of Dread. But the information that's here, the techniques that are here, the descriptions that are here can also be used in just generic Shadowfell-based locations. The Domains of Dread tend to manifest the effects of the Shadowfell and the content, the features of the Shadowfell are heavily amplified within the Domains of Dread. But you can use the information here for just generic Shadowfell adventures as well. So if you're into the Shadowfell, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft is a great addition to your library, as is the 4th edition Manual of the Planes. This is one of those things that we talk about a lot on my stream. I could spend 2.5, 4 hours, 7 hours going into videos talking about the Shadowfell and the Domains of Dread, but we're not here to do that. We're just here to read through the DM's guide and get on with our lives. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you need resources, there's tons and tons and tons of resources out there for the Shadowfell. But you don't need to do anything other than have a grim, dark understanding of the setting that you're using if you go to the Shadowfell. Thank you so much for hanging out for the videos. Likes, follows, subscribes are appreciated. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's anything you need more information on. Be happy to chat with you on that. Join us over on Twitch for live chats. But above all else, thank you for your time. And we'll see you for the rest of the video series soon. Be safe.